I will hold my hand up and say that I was wrong. I expected pretty much nothing from the 2022 remake of Cheaper by the Dozen. I say remake, it's not exactly the same as the previous films, but because Cheaper by the Dozen as a film concept has been done so many times, I kind of thought, do we really need this? But actually, I found this one to be really moving and very well cast, and the narrative was really interesting. And I just thought it worked really well. If you're unaware of what Cheaper by the Dozen as a concept is about, even with the original film and then the various remakes we've had over the years and sequels as well, it's about two families who come together, where there are already kids from either family. Typically, the new family will then also have a baby or several babies to have children who belong to each parent individually and then collectively. And it's absolute chaos because there are usually 12 or so children, and as you can imagine, there are a lot of problems that ensue as a result of this. The reason the 2022 one works, in my opinion, first of all, the casting is great, and I think all of the children have very unique and interesting personalities that work really well as a blended unit. But I also think the parents are both fantastic, and the subplot of the family's business works really well. So everything blends together really nicely and just gives an enjoyable film. Even comparing it against the other ones, I think obviously the original is amazing, but with regards to sequels and remakes, for me, this is the strongest one by far. It's on Disney Plus, directed by Gail Lerner, written by Craig Titley, and it's actually based on the novel by Frank B. Gilbreth Jr. and Ernestine Gilbreth Carey. Wasn't aware it was based on a novel, so I might actually read the book at some point and see how this one and the other Cheaper by the Dozens compare. But for now, I'm quite happy with Disney's various attempts at doing this. So, the first thing I love is Zach Braff being in this. He plays Paul Baker, the father. We have Gabrielle Union as Zoey, the mother. And I'm not going to go through all of the children, but I will say the standouts for me are well, there are quite a few actually. I think Haresh, played by Aryan Simhadri, was absolutely amazing. I particularly liked Kylie Rogers as Ella. There was something about her performance that just really stood out to me. And the little ones, the young children, I thought they were all absolutely fantastic across the board. Brilliant casting and acting. I have no complaints. This one is particularly interesting because of the family's business and the opportunities that it gives the family, and the way in which they can improve their lot in life. But it's also, I should also point out as well that even though they get a bigger, better house and move to a bigger, better area, I find that the family remain true to who they are as a family unit. What I found really refreshing was the children all seemed to have a really strong work ethic, and they were all pitching in to help with the family business, where basically the father created a sauce that is hot, sweet, sour, and savory. It's a magic sauce that can do all kinds of amazing things to your taste buds, and he has an opportunity to grow that business. The subplot there is that things may seem amazing on the outside, but when you actually look closer, sometimes you're missing things at the heart of your family unit, and you need to actually pay attention to each individual person. And also, just because you've provided them with a bigger house, it doesn't mean that they're going to be happier. We also have a little bit of the grass always being greener on the other side as well. But I was really impressed with the family unit here. I had expected, kind of, you're not my real father, you're not my real mother. We never really get that. And I think that's really refreshing, because a lot of films where two families come together, either during the film or, prior to the film's timeline, some of the children will have a level of animosity towards the step-parents, and the children from either parent will hate one another. But we don't really get that here. It's a really nice example of a strong family unit who still has problems that they have to overcome together, collectively and individually. It's a really interesting look at how parents, and particularly step-parents, can play an important role in a child's life, and what an absent parent can do to a child's emotions or the way they perceive their own lot in life. There's a lot you could analyse in this, but at the same time, it's exceptionally good fun, and I really thoroughly enjoyed it. As I said, the reason it works Partly it's because of the narrative and how well the various subplots weave together. I think it works really well. But also because of the characters. The characters are definitely the driving force. They have to be. There are so many of them. But we have a whole mix of different individuals that you are bound to relate to one of them, whether you see yourself as one of the parents, or whether you see yourself, or either your current self or your formative self, as one of the children. You will find somebody or something to which you can relate. And that just makes it a little bit more of an involved experience. And I think start to finish, I really thoroughly enjoyed it. As I said, I didn't expect much. I genuinely wasn't expecting anything particularly amazing. But I really thoroughly enjoyed it, and I honestly can't fault it. Had I not seen any of the other Cheaper by the Dozens, I wouldn't have had anything to compare it to. And maybe I would have enjoyed it even more. But because I know it's a remake, it's not a fresh idea, it is bounding off of the success of certainly the original. But I know the remake from a couple of decades ago was also very popular. The one with Steve Martin, I can't remember. I think, was it maybe the early noughties when that came out? That one proved quite popular, but the original is definitely up there as the best and as a fantastic adaptation. But I have to say, Cheaper by the Dozen 2022, I looked at it and thought, why do you exist? Why do we need another adaptation of this story we've seen done time and time again? Well, you exist because you are actually brilliant. You're very well cast, very well acted, very well executed narrative. It's good fun. You can watch it without taking it too seriously, or you can analyse it and find a much more emotional angle with which to enjoy it. But ultimately, I had a lot of fun with Cheaper by the Dozen.